Okay, today I'm going to read a book called Mr. President. I wasn't really sure whether I would do it or not. I saw that somebody else has already read one on the internet, and we're having lots of trouble, and the president is in the news a lot. Well, this is not about any particular president. This is about Mr. President goes to school. So here we go. Mr. President goes to school. I like the story, and that's why I want to do it. I couldn't get it out of my mind. I thought, no, don't do it. It's hard. But last time I practiced, I was a little bit better, so we'll give it a go. Mr. President goes to school. And it says it again. Mr. President goes to school. Mr. President was having a crummy day. What's this I see outside? There's some trouble on the lawn. The National Gopher Society was demanding that gophers be allowed in the rose garden. "Gophers!" cried the White House gardener. "Why, they'll turn my lawn into Swiss cheese." Then there was the problem of the ping pong table. Mr. President loved playing ping pong, but Mr. Vice President had told a visiting troop of Boy Scouts they could chop it up for their marshmallow roast. Yay! Finally, there was that call from Madam Secretary of State. "Mr. President," said Madam Secretary. Madam Secretary. Bolivia is threatening to go to war with Snootsburg, and vice versa. It's the sticks and stones issue again, sir. What should we do?" "Not another war. I don't know," Mr. President sighed. He hung up the phone and sat thinking of a happier time and a happier place. Then he smiled. He pulled a long coat from his closet, tucked his head under a large floppy hat, and put on a fake nose and glasses from an old spy kit. He slipped out of the big house and walked exactly 7.5 blocks away to a place where the world was a little simpler. Where do you think the president's going? Who knows? And should we have a camera adjustment? "Well, who do we have here?" asked the white-haired lady. "A new student?" Mr. President smiled and nodded. "My name is Miss Appletree," said the lady. "What is yours?" "Louis," said Mr. President. "Such a nice name. I had a student named Louis once. He's an important man now." Miss Appletree led him to a table. "I hope you like finger painting." "I do," said Mr. President. He slid his fingers through the globs of green paint. Squirk, 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 squirk.
That's very pretty, Louis, said Miss Appletree. What is it?
A ping-pong table, said Mr. President. He was feeling better already. After finger painting, it was time for recess, and Mr. President made 2 friends.
Whoopee, sir! Push us higher, 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 higher!
Oh boy, this is sure better than being in the White House. And then Mr. President chased a squirrel up a tree. And then he spun around on the merry-go-round, making himself silly. Woohoo, woohoo, woohoo! Oh, never had so much good time. Never had such a good time before. Oh, this is fun. Whee, whee, whee.
That man funny. He real funny. He funny man.
Back inside, he and his new friends made a castle out of blocks.
I get to be king. Everyone shouted, no, I want to be king. We want to be king. I'll make the blocks. Come now. We're all friends here, Miss Appletree said. Friends can always work things out, but I'll bet you're hungry. It's hard to solve problems when you're hungry.
Miss Appletree passed out making milk and cookies, and soon with full tummies, everyone lay down for a nap, including Mr. President. When they woke up, it was story time. Oh boy, tell me a story, tell me a story, tell me a story, tell me a story, tell me a story. Everyone sat crisscross applesauce on the carpet, and Miss Appletree began to read. Several times she stopped and asked questions.
But raise your hands, she would say. Polite people always raise their hands.
And Mr. President raised his hand. He answered 3 questions, and 2 of them was correct.
Our day is almost over, said Miss Appletree. What's very important thing we do? And I will repeat, I say, what very important thing do we still need to do?
And they put the right legs in, they put the right legs out, they put the left arms in, they put the left arms out, and they turned it all about, and they did the hokey pokey, and that's what it's all about. Woo! We're gonna jig hig lig, and gonna right egg nig, and gonna jig log a niggy wog a nig nig nig. We're gonna boogie woggy higgy nogga hig hig hig. Woo! I'm having a good time, said Mr. President. Yes, sir, let's do that again. We put the left foot in, we put the left foot out, we put the left rear in, and we shake it all about. We do the hokey pokey and we spin all around. That's what it's all about. Hey! Mr. President laughed. I love the hokey pokey.
Yes, Louis, said Miss Appletree. That's what it's all about. The hokey pokey.
Mr. President skipped all the way back to the White House. Oh boy, I sure feel better now. Everything's gonna be all right. There cried Secretary of State. There you are. We thought you'd been kidnapped. The Prime Minister of Borovia and Snotberg insist on seeing you right now.
Mr. President's shoulders sagged. Have them come to my office. Then he brightened. And prepare some milk and cookies, would you please? Polite people always say, please, Miss Secretary of State.
Oh, okay, Mr. President. Please, I will bring your milk and cookies for them.
Mr. President sat on the big oval rug and waited. The two leaders were horrified. Prime ministers sit in grand chairs, not on carpets, and especially not crisscross applesauce. They looked at each other and frowned. Huh, huh. Mr. President patted the rug. Please, please sit down. We're all friends here. Each man lowered himself to the floor. Well then, said Mr. President, I hear we have a problem. The angry Prime Minister began to shout, Nitty, nitty. And then the other one replied, Nincompoop, Dukoff, nincompoop. Now, said Mr. President, before we speak, we do what? The two leaders looked puzzled. We raise our hands, said Mr. President. The Prime Minister of Borovia slowly raised his hand. Yes, said Mr. President. They are throwing sticks across the river at us. You are throwing stones at us, you doofus. The Prime Minister of Snortberg snarled. Snort, 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 snort. Oh dear, there's that name-calling again, said Mr. President. But I know what may help. Mr. President asked Madam Secretary to serve the milk and cookies. Oh, what do we have here? Said Mr. Snortberg. Oh, I like cookies. Yes, sirree, I do. When all the cookies were gone, the Prime Minister's yawned. It's hard to solve problems when we're sleepy, said Mr. President. His new friends nodded in agreement. At last, they'd found something they could agree on. They were both sleepy. Well, at least there's something. So Mr. President put them asleep, just like when he was in kindergarten. And after they awoke, Mr. President said, Now, there is something important we must do. The hokey pokey. The two leaders shook their heads. What? Me do the hokey pokey? I will not do the hokey pokey.
Me neither. I will not do no hokey pokey.
So, the two leaders shook their heads. Prime Ministers, do not do the hokey pokey. Try it once, said Mr. President. So they did try it once. They put their left arms in, they put their left arms out, they put their back sides in, and they turned it all about. They did the hokey pokey and they did a little shout. Whoo, that's what it's all about. Hoo, hoo, hoo. The second time around, the Prime Minister of Borovia really shook it all around, which made the Prime Minister of Snortberg laugh. Ho, 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 that's funny. You look like a tub of lard. Ho, 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 ho. That was fun, he said.
We can play another game. Sure, said Mr. President. Let's build a castle. We can take turns being the king. So they rearranged the furniture a little bit to play castle. Finally, Mr. President had the White House chef mix up some finger paints and they all drew pictures. They all finger painted. Squeak, 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 squeak. There wasn't a stick or a stone in any of them. Now, Mr. President asked, what were you two arguing about? The two prime ministers stopped painting. For an awful moment, no one spoke. Then the Prime Minister of Snortberg did a very brave thing. Surely we can work something out, he said. We're all friends here. The Prime Minister of Barovia looked at him and smiled. Marvelous, cried Mr. President. I can't wait to hear how everything turns out. Before we go, said the Prime Minister of Barovia, could we? Oh, yes. One more time, said the Prime Minister of Snortberg. That's what it's all about, ha 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 ha, mocked the President. So they did the hokey pokey one more time, and they decided to do it outside on the grass in the yard. Oh, how they embarrassed Secretary of State. Really, grown men should not be doing the hokey pokey outside. No, no, no. Ah, don't worry, Miss Secretary of State, said the President. It's all right. This is what friends do. Friends have fun and do the hokey pokey. The next morning, Mr. President looked out his office window and sighed. Oh, look at that. Look at that. The gardener's trying to catch those gophers. He pulled a long coat from his closet, tucked his head under a large flappy hat, and put on the fake nose and glasses he had found in an old spy kit. Then he slipped out of the big white house and walked to a place exactly 7.5 blocks away. Where the world was a little simpler. Oh, I can't wait to get back. Can't wait to get back to that class, said Mr. President. Then I'll know that I'll feel better. I just know I will feel better. To my parents, Bill and Wilma Walton, who taught me what it's all about. And these are comments from people related to the writer of the book. In memory of my grandpa, Glenn Johnson, a gentle soul. Well, that's what it's all about. And I hope that you enjoyed the book. And I enjoyed it better than I thought. When I first looked at it, I thought, I can't do this. It was one of the most complicated books to read, and I messed up, and I hope you'll forgive me for the mess ups. But when you try to do the hokey pokey, sometimes you get tongue-tied. And that's what it's all about. Mr. President goes back to school. Well, that's it. I hope you enjoy this. I really tried hard to do Mr. President Goes to School. Definitely the picture got my attention when I saw this book. I thought, oh, I gotta read this on YouTube and hope somebody may have a better thought toward the president, because he has a lot of worries on his hands, and we know the trouble that he's having in that certain northern country, and nobody seems to give any credit that he's trying so hard. But that's the way it goes when you're the president. Some people just don't like you. And we must all remember, too, that nobody is perfect. So this ends Mr. President Goes Back to School. If you ask me, that's a lot of courage to go to kindergarten. Oh boy. So this ends the story of Clay Has a Twitch. Anyway, here's the end of the book. This is the end of the book. Mr. President Goes to School. That's it. And I hope that at least 5 people will listen and watch the reading of Mr. President Goes to School.